General Michael Flynn has resigned as National Security Advisor. Does that mean the controversy is over?
No.
No way, says Democratic Congressman Adam Schiff of California. He is on the Intelligence Committee. Moments ago, he wrote this. Here's what's bothering me. Flynn's lie about Russia didn't bring him down. Exposure of lie did. White House knew weeks ago and did nothing. Why?
Congressman Schiff, as John said, a ranking member of the House Intelligence Committee. He joins us now from Capitol Hill. A lot to get to this morning. Nice to have you on the program. Given the fact that you sit on the Intel Committee, given that you have intelligence we do not have, is there any indication that the president knew, first off, that the president knew before he took office that Michael Flynn was having these conversations about sanctions with the Russian ambassador?
Well, I can't go into the contents of the investigation, but I don't think we have anywhere near the kind of answers to those questions yet. Our investigation is really just getting underway, but these are the important questions. How long did this relationship between Flynn and the Russian ambassador or others affiliated with the Kremlin go on? How much of this was witting to the president? How much of it was condoned by the president? You know, what I find so troubling here is that the White House knew about the fact that Flynn had lied, knew that the vice president had then repeated the falsehood to the American people, and for Kellyanne Conway to say he's only stepping down because he misled the president, no, the whole country was misled, and they were okay with that as long as the public didn't know. That is deeply troubling. To me, it is inconceivable that the White House counsel, upon being briefed by the Justice Department, would keep that information to himself. He must have shared that with others in the administration, and it's also, I think, very implausible that those others in the administration, if they were having discussions about removing Flynn, would not have discussed this with the president.
So what the congressman's talking about here is that 2 weeks ago, Sally Yates, who was then acting attorney general, told the White House counsel Don McGahn that there were concerns about this conversation, blackmail concerns, with the support of intelligence and apparently the transcript of the conversation that was given to the White House counsel 2 weeks ago. Then on Friday, Congressman, President Trump was asked about all of this, and this is how he responded on Air Force One. Let's listen briefly.
I haven't seen it. What report is that? I haven't seen it.
Reporting that he talked to the ambassador to Russia before you were inaugurated about sanctions, maybe trying to...
I haven't seen that. I'll look at that.
In case you couldn't hear it, Congressman, what the president said was, I haven't heard about that. I'll look into it. That was Friday, more than 2 weeks after, his White House counsel was first informed of it. Do you think the president was being straight with the American people right there?
I think that's so unlikely. The fact is, this is a voracious consumer of the news, much as he badmouths it. He knew exactly what the controversy was that was swirling around. The question is, how much did he know of what Sally Yates communicated to White House counsel? I believe he probably had to know that as well. If he didn't, that says something about whether important information, national security information, is being kept from the president. But given this inexplicable fondness for Putin, his unwillingness to criticize anything the Russians do, it certainly begs the question of whether Flynn was doing exactly what the president wanted, whether he was doing it with the president's knowledge, with the president's approval. It is entirely plausible that they could have discussed this after they learned that President Obama was going to impose sanctions and felt that they were being boxed in and that they were going to reach out to the Russians immediately and say, don't react. We'll take care of this. So there are tons of questions here. We need a thorough investigation. I'd like to see, in addition to what we're doing in the Intelligence Committee, because we have limited resources, an independent commission look at all of these questions because they're just of such great significance to the whole country.
Let's remember that the day after Flynn had that conversation with the Russian ambassador, the president then tweeted this right before taking office: great move on delay by V. Putin. I always knew he was very smart, meaning reaction to this shock that Russia did not counterpunch the U.S. when the U.S. imposed more sanctions under President Obama. You said something to Wolf Blitzer on this network yesterday that we want to learn more about, and that is that you said that you have seen reports that General Flynn may have used or used encrypted communications with the Russians. Are you talking about media reports or intelligence reports?
I haven't seen intelligence about this. I want to be very clear. No, there have been comments about this in the media, and I think this is an allegation that ought to be pursued. We ought to find out just what kind of communications Flynn had with the Russian ambassador. We know from Sean Spicer that he was texting the Russian ambassador. Was this using open communications or encrypted communications? If they were in fact encrypted, you have to ask, who was he trying to conceal these conversations from? And obviously, he wasn't trying to conceal them from the Russians, and that may show some consciousness of wrongdoing here.
So Congressman, you know, let's cross the T's here. So what if the general did have encrypted conversations during the campaign? What if the president did know after the White House counsel was informed about these conversations? What then?
Well, of course, the most serious allegation is that there was a form of collusion between the Trump campaign and the Kremlin while the Kremlin was engaged in illegal operations in the United States to influence our election. If that's true, of course, there were multiple laws broken, and that is, I think, the most serious issue.
Have you seen any evidence of that at that point? I mean, that's a serious allegation. Have you seen any evidence of that at this point?
Well, you know, I can't go into the investigation yet, but the investigation is still at a very early stage. Essentially, at this point, we are still in the process of gathering documents from the intelligence community that underlay the intelligence community's assessment, the public version of which you've read. We received a more detailed classified version, and the Gang of Eight received an even more detailed report. So we're in the very early stages, but we do have to look at the whole range of Russian active measures. We cannot wall off any potential source of investigation or inquiry. You know, to the chairman of the Intelligence Committee, to his credit, is willing to pursue the facts where they lead. That's exactly what we're going to have to do. I'd like to see us do that jointly with the Senate. That it doesn't make much sense to me to be doing this independently of each other. And more than that, I think we would benefit from an independent commission. But these allegations have to be looked into, as well as, you know, the more salacious allegations. If there is compromising material that could be used to blackmail the president, that needs to be investigated as well. We just have to follow the facts wherever they lead.
We should note that CNN, you know, has not been able to corroborate any of those salacious allegations in that dossier you're talking about there. Let's just be clear about that. Congressman Adam Smith, California, thanks so much for being with us.